Benchmarking. Are you doing benchmarking? Regardless of your size of your business, regardless of whether you are the best in class in your industry or not. This is Margaret from Amkana Wepo, and here I am to remind you or to have a discussion with you on benchmarking. Most companies, most businesses will do internal benchmarking, and they'll look at their performance last year and compare it to their performance this year, and then from that they'll benchmark what performance they're expecting in the coming year. Some other companies or some other business will go further and look at competitive benchmarking. They'll look at what their competitors are doing, how are they performing, and they'll compare that to their own performance. From my experience dealing with clients and myself working in the management position, most of the time the benchmarking will focus on the bottom line, the revenue, the profit. However, after working with some clients that I've been coaching and mentoring in the last few years, it has come to my attention that one needs to consider benchmarking in a 360-degree view. I was recently talking to one of my clients during our accountability meeting. I am his accountability partner because he is a CEO and the owner of his company. So most of the time when we are in that position, then we tend to overlook a lot of factors. We tend to ignore a lot of things because we are the decision makers and our word is final. So during this meeting, I asked him, okay, you are the best in class. You are doing well in your sector and your revenue has been increasing every year. But are you benchmarking? And then he asked me, why do I need to benchmark against my competitors? I'm already doing better than them. But I told him, what if you're just looking at their profit? What if are you just looking at you're just looking at their staff count and maybe their skill set? Have you considered whether they are doing some research and development, whether they are procuring some sort of technology that will put them ahead in the next few years? Are you considering all those factors, or you're just considering the short run? What about in the long run? Have you not heard of companies that were doing pretty well and then 5 years down the line they didn't know what happened, but the people that they didn't even consider that they were competitors like caught up with them and even surpassed their performance, and few years down the line they had to shut down the business because they couldn't like keep the pace with these new competitors. So how are you versed? How are you taking into consideration all these factors? Well, that was a good start for us, because then we sat down and brainstormed how we could benchmark not only against our competitors, against the bottom line, but against all other factors and against substitutes, against complementary services, etc., etc. So this is my question to you as well. What are you benchmarking against? Are you considering the 360-degree benchmarking, whereby you're not only looking at your internal benchmarking by considering the bottom line, but you're also looking at the opportunity cost that you have lost all over the year in order to produce the revenue that you're producing? What if you looked at it from another angle? You may realize that what you left behind to do what you did could have given you more profit than what you have gained this year. Are you looking at the staff you lost? Are you looking at the environmental factors, the pollution, the quarrels you got into, etc., etc.? Just my point is, when you're doing your benchmarking, could you consider 360 degrees? Could you look at things from every other angle? And trust me, you cannot do this alone, especially if you don't have a team of management that you sit down with to to discuss the strategy and implementation and the growth of your business. You may need an accountability partner. And even when you are running a big company, you are a CEO of a big company, sometimes you may need to sit with CEOs, not only in your own sector, but in other sectors, just to understand how they're anticipating the industries to grow, how they're anticipating the job markets to be. So I'm gonna work on 360 benchmarking.